It's a typical day at your collection facility. A donor comes in, you hand them the cup, tell them you need 45 milliliters of urine into the cup. Do not flush the toilet during the collection, and do not try to wash their hands, and for them to just bring it out when they're finished. So they go in, do their business, and they come out with this: a specimen that does not have a valid temperature between 90 and 100. That's when this uneventful collection turns into a problem collection, also known as a temperature out of range. According to the 49 CFR Part 40 regulations, there are specific procedures that you must follow as the collector when you have a temperature out of range on a specimen. And today I am going to teach you step by step on how to handle a temperature out of range. Let's get started. Okay, so now let's take a look at how you are supposed to document when you have a temperature out of range. Here we have our specimen ID number. This is going to be very important later on. So remember, this number under your barcode is your specimen ID number, 20909399910. That is your specimen ID number. You're going to need that. We already have step 1 filled in. Of course, in real life, during the collection process, you're going to fill in all of step 1 with the DER's information, the MRO's information, and don't forget about the MRO's phone number and fax number. That's what this is. Let's just put a P and an F there. Especially if you are taking your mock exam through the Kelly Lab training program, you're going to have a CRL training form like this. The MRO's information is going to be missing, so make sure that you read this and notice that the phone and the fax number is missing, so you need to write that in on your CCF. Okay, so you've got all of the information here about the donor, the test type, the DOT agency, the reason for the test, and the test to be performed. Collector information, you can always write your email address here on this other line here. Okay, now once we have told the donor to go into the bathroom, provide us with 45 milliliters of urine, do not flush the toilet, do not wash your hands, and bring it out, the donor ended up bringing us a specimen that is outside the temperature range, so now we must document that on our CCF form. Please keep in mind, this is your first CCF form, and this form is going to have the documentation about the specimen having a temperature that is out of range. So that is what we're documenting on this first CCF form. So please keep that in mind. That's what you're documenting on this first CCF form. So we're going to always check the box that says urine, because this is a urine screen. It is split because we're going to split the 45 mLs between 30 and 15 milliliters, because we are going to send this specimen to the lab even though it was out of the temperature range. Now, on the urine line where it's asking about whether the temperature was between 90 and 100 degrees or not, we're going to say no, because it was not between 90 and 100. Okay. This line here is for oral fluid screens. We are not doing oral fluid, we're doing urine. So we just skip all of these boxes here, and now we're going to write in our remarks. Okay. Here's your remark that you need to write in when there is a temperature out of range. Now, you want to practice writing small because you don't have that much room, as you can see on this line, to write a lengthy note. So you want to try to write small, but make sure that it's still legible. Okay? So your remark is going to read, temp out of range, because we are going to let them know right away what's going on. The temperature is out of range. Now we're going to tell them, what are we going to do since the temperature is out of range? So we will say, will conduct second collection under DO. DO stands for direct observation. So we've told them the temperature is out of range. Now we're telling them we're going to conduct a second collection under direct observation. Then we're going to say this is one of two collections. We're telling them that because the temp out of range is its own collection, the direct observation is its own collection. So that makes this two separate collections, because you cannot document temp out of range and a direct observe on the same form, because it would not make sense. Okay, we cannot document that the temperature was out of range and that it was directly observed on the same form. We cannot do that. So we need to tell them this is the first of two collections. Then we're going to write in specimen ID number. But the specimen ID number that we are referencing is going to be from our second CCF form that we're going to prepare after we do our direct observation. So here's CCF number 2. We're going to use this form to document the direct observation. We are going to take this specimen ID number from the top of this second CCF form, and we are going to write it in our remark section on our first CCF form, because we are telling them, hey, this specimen ID number on the direct observe form goes with this specimen that we're documenting for temp out of range. They need to reference each other. Okay, so we're going to take this specimen ID number from CCF number 2 and put it over here on CCF number 1 for temp out of range, so that it references this one. So that way everybody knows, hey, these two go together. Okay, now back that up and replay it if you need to, so that you understand over and over again until you get it. So we're going to put specimen ID number 209093911 to let them know the specimen ID number that this form is referencing for our second collection under DO is 20909399911. That's the one they're looking for. Okay, so once we have that filled in, you're going to go ahead and split your specimen, apply your labels, date, donor's going to initial. You're going to move on to throughout the rest of the steps like you normally would. Bag it up, because you are going to ship this temp out of range specimen to the lab, because the lab wants to try to figure out what the heck did the donor do. We want to analyze this specimen that's temp out of range so we can try to identify what's taking place here. Okay? So, next step is to inform the donor of the direct observation procedure. The direct observation procedure starts with you explaining the procedure to the donor. Do not accuse the donor of adulteration, and just stick to the procedures and remain professional to reduce the risk of confrontation. Having the regulations printed out and laminated to give to the donor may help explain the procedure better. Next, you're going to make sure that you have the same gender observer accompany the donor into the bathroom. The donor must raise their shirt to their navel, pants and underwear to the mid-thigh, and do a 360-degree turn, and the observer must watch the donor urinate directly into the collection cup. So no turning away. Now, if the donor is seeming like they're not going to comply, call the DER and see if the DER can talk to them and get them to comply with the direct observation procedure. Let's take a look at some of the items that may be used for adulteration. Y'all, donors get really creative, so you want to make sure that you are looking out for those items. Now, we we have moved on to the direct observation CCF. So after you have completed the direct observation with the donor, you must document on your CCF form in step number 2, why did you conduct a direct observation? That's what your remark is going to be. Why you did. You have to explain. Why did you do the direct observation? So this is your second CCF form. You can see the specimen ID number. Everything in step 1 has to be exactly the same as it was on step 1 on your first CCF form when you documented the temp out of range. So all that information is going to stay the same, and then you're going to come down to step 2 and check your boxes and put in your remarks. So we're going to have urine. It's going to be split because we're going to split this one too and ship it to the lab. We're going to put yes now for the temperature because the temperature should now be within range. And we're going to check the box observed to indicate that we observed this screen. And it prompts you to enter the remark, so you can't forget to put in your remarks down here. So what is our remark going to be for direct observation? We are going to put DO, which stands for direct observation, comma, due, DUE, to first specimen, temp out of range. So we're telling them we're doing a direct observation due to the first specimen being temp out of range. So they will know now the first specimen, there's another specimen that goes with this one. It was temp out of range. That's why we had to do a direct observation. You have to explain why you're doing a direct observation. 2 of 2 collections, specimen ID number, and then we're going to take that specimen ID number that was on the temp out of range CCF, our first CCF, this number up here, we're going to take that and we're going to write it into our remarks on our second CCF form. So that number we're going to take off is 209,093,9910. That's going to tell them that there is another specimen that was temp out of range. This is that ID number for that specimen. They need to reference each other. So as you can see, on our first CCF, we have this specimen ID number from our direct observation. And on our direct observation, we have this specimen ID number from our temp out of range CCF. So anybody that looks at this paperwork is going to see the 2 specimen ID numbers are cross-referencing each other on each set of CCFs, your temp out of range and your direct observation. Now to finish up the direct observation, you're going to go ahead and split your specimen, put your labels on, finish the paperwork, MRO copy, bag it, and then send it off to the lab. And that's going to be it for that. Whether you are a seasoned collector or you are studying to pass your mock exam, I hope that this video was helpful for you, and now you have a better understanding of how to handle a temperature out of range. Please like and subscribe to my channel to get more instructional videos like this, and I will see you in the next video.